Hi guys, good morning, it's Laura. I'm gonna do a little drawing lesson this morning because I usually do all that stuff like on my business page and in other places. I was like, why not just talk to the community, and instead of doing fashion illustration that I usually do, just talk about drawing basics, because that's something, it's amazing how often I talk to people who are like, oh, I wish I could draw, or you're so creative, and I'm like, I used to feel that way totally, so I totally get it, but it's like the most important element to you being able to do those things is to desire them. So if you truly wish you could draw or truly have that little yearning inside, there's nothing to stop you. And my job is to help you see that. A big piece of that is undoing how you think art happens. So yesterday I posted a picture of all these art supplies, and I said, what's missing? And the thing that's missing there, missing in quotes, is an eraser. And I actually, as I sat down this morning, I was like, maybe I could show them how to like draw with an eraser just for kicks. But I realized I don't have an eraser and I don't know where to find one. I think I have one in my pattern making bag from my sewing and pattern making and draping classes. I do not have an eraser in my art area. This is how important that is. And it's not just about drawing technique, but it translates into life too. Like, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Your process is sincere. Your process is real. It's totally honest, totally sincere, and totally without judgment. And on top of that, your process is your beauty. It's the beauty. Like the sketch lines on my face. No, but like, we're going to talk about it. I think I should just show you. But please, if you're catching the replay, if it's your first time watching me live, just say hi in the comments. If you're watching the replay, please put #replay or drop me an emoji. And please don't hesitate to give an opinion or ask a question, because the questions are all so valid. So today I'm going to give you like a beginner lesson of something that you can try. So, or maybe you can't, because first tricky item is that most of us have art supplies that make us feel like we can't draw. Okay, so the first thing I want to like deconstruct is the pencil. Pencils are loaded with associations for us. Learning to write, math, white paper, pencil sharpener, and most pencils have an eraser on them, which inherently says that we're going to mess up, that we need to be corrected, right? So pencils kind of carry perfectionism within them, and this is like so damaging to the experience of art. So over the course of this week, I'm going to do a whole bunch of different videos where we approach different sides of art. So keep an open mind if you can. But the problem with this pencil is what I think about it, what I think about art, and all the associations it brings me about symbols, doing things right or doing things wrong, and correcting them, and being in school. These are all issues that come up with a pencil. So ideally, what I do in my classes is we don't even use pencils, or we'll use woodless pencils, so that the tip becomes less of an issue. We don't have such a perfect tip. The other thing about my pencils, this is a really fun one, graphite 9B. Okay, so you know when your pencils say number 2 on them, that usually means 2HB or 2B. B means soft, H means hard. And the best way to get away from the perfectionism is to use a really soft pencil. So this is 9B graphite. And if you want to look this up, I bought this at Blick in New York City near my job. It's blurry. Sorry, guys. Maybe if I put it against my background. Actually, I just bought this. I don't usually use these, but I have that. I have woodless graphite you can get at Michael's. That's also 9B. This is also 9B. I like very soft This is called Graph Cube by, what do you call it? Caran d'Ache brand. So, all right. So what I'm going to do, I have a whole bunch of other ones here, but it's all basically the same in that none of them have erasers, okay? And what I'm going to do is, here's the thing. When I went to design school, the first year was all fine arts. It was like sculpture, sketching, and I didn't know how to draw yet. Hi. So what I did, by the way, I don't know if I have the chat visible. Please, don't be shy to pipe in with a comment. Okay, so I'm going to flip around so that you can start to see my drawing board. And we're going to think for a minute about how we think about pencils. Let me flip. Hi, how are you doing? It's so fun to see when you don't do the business page on Facebook, you'll be like, oh my gosh, people who I haven't seen in so long. Hi, Mary. So I'm just taking a page here. Now here's another, see, I knew all kinds. I didn't overplan this because I usually don't, because things come up so naturally. So another thing about drawing is you're not going to have any fun at all if you take a little piece of paper and put it on the table and it's like sliding all over the place. So usually when I'm teaching people to draw or paint, I'll have them take a single piece and literally have them, let me adjust my lighting a little, literally have them tape it down onto the table so it's totally stable. If you have a heavy sketchbook, that can also, shoot, this is not a great setup for light, hang on. If you have a heavy sketchbook, it will also stay stable on the table. Hi, Jerome! Yay! Okay, definitely having lighting problems. Let me just see if tapping on the screen will change that a little bit. Okay, well, it's dark, even though I have this like massive, crazy light on here. Too bad. All right, here we go. So, step 1 or 2 about how I got a liberated feeling studying art was my first day. Looking back, I feel like the teachers I got were I was destined to have. So, I'm going to hold this graphite and I'm going to hold it like this. Okay, the very first thing I learned on the very first day was not to write, not to draw with my fingers. This is the last thing you'll do. This is where you can put details in, right? Eyelashes or something. But when you first draw, actually, I'm not even going to draw anything specific right now. For example, I just sketched a circle. I held this like a 3-year-old would hold it. I don't actually work this way because it's heavy. Maybe a 3-year-old might do that, but I do like to do it like this because if I want to press harder, I can use my thumb. If I want to do lightly, okay, and I'm sketching circles, and I'm using my whole entire arm to do it, which you can't see my whole body, and this is something that's fun to do because you are feeling a circle. It's the essence of a circle. But it's not like, this is what happens if I try to draw a circle. Especially if you try to draw a perfect circle. It's like you never can. It's lumpy, it's bumpy, it's dark, right? What if you let yourself just feel circles? And what if you let yourself do this for the beauty of that? Like instinctively listen to yourself. You're going to hear your mind saying, hey, what if you put one over there? And then like, oh, let's make this one darker than the others. Ooh, let's do one over here. And with time, this would even get more comfortable for you, but like they're perfect circles, but they're not perfect circles, right? Like I love that. I love that. Meaning that they're perfectly round, but there's no single line. Who cares? You know what I mean? And then there's this sense of how light can I do it? And remember, this is because I'm using a very soft pencil. And also, I can only draw this way because I'm not bumping into wood. Right? Wood's going to get in the way. Fifi! So, wood would take so much away from that. So, let me switch over to this one for a minute and keep doing more of the same. And I'm just sketching circles. Literally, this is how I'm holding it. And notice my hand's getting dirty. Well, you know what? I like that. And this is one of the best things. I miss you. I need your mailing address, by the way. So guys, now I just smudged it up. How are you doing? And now I'm playing with how dark can this get versus like how light. Maybe I just want to color in little areas. Mwah! I will never forget our epic New York adventure. Does that say cold or gold? Wait. I have this thing when I live stream with reading comments because my eyes don't adjust from the paper to the screen. Hello, honey. So now I'm playing. Now you're like, this isn't realistic, Laura. What are you doing? Well, one thing you want to do is, realistic drawing is definitely something I teach. And realistic drawing is the thing that I could never do. That I now, that I can since I studied. Do you like leafless pencils? Do you mean woodless? Because I really do. I love woodless pencils. And I like soft pencils. I don't know what a leafless one is. And I just picked this up. This is by Caran d'Ache. I like it. And this gives you even less control, guys, because you really can't sharpen it. And I know that you may not have something like that at home, but you could still, even if you're using a classic pencil, you could still do this exercise to experiment holding it a different way. And then also experimenting with, and in a lot of ways, this is a meditation of just enjoying, like how light can you draw? How light could you possibly draw a circle? And how dark does your pencil actually get? And some pencils get way darker than others. And then again, play with smudging that. And notice something you may have not have noticed ever before. Is that the dark areas are like shadows. They tend to feel like they're falling into the background. And the light area next to it seems to come forward. So you can start to play with space. Yeah, isn't that cool? I just got this at Blick, like downstairs at school. So I grabbed one of these, and I grabbed one of these, which quite different. I love what you said, call them logs. That's awesome. These are both 9B. Different brands, different feeling. Guys, so realistic drawing, when I start actually drawing things, I'm going to be using the same techniques, but I want you to have the experience of realizing, those of you who think you can't draw, before we even get realistic, which you can, which is that you, when you do something like this, you're still aiming for harmony. You're still reaching for beauty. You're still having emotional reactions to each line you put on the page. So that's already, you're an artist. That's already your expression and your interpretation and your creation. And even if you don't like it, that's your judgment and that's your choice. And you can still, right? You could still adjust, or you're building experience. Maybe you've never even let yourself come this far, because I know, especially because of the way we learn to write, the minute we start to draw, we start judging ourselves really harsh. I mean, maybe not everybody, but I've seen enough of it. It's so painful. It's so sad, right? So one of my missions is just to help undo that for people. Even getting messy like this is so healing for some people, because sometimes you're never even a place where you're allowed to get messy. It's easy enough to wash this off, right? If I had an eraser with me, and like I told you, it's always really hard for me to find an eraser anywhere in my house. Yeah, I literally cannot find one right now, or I would play with erasing a little bit. Oi, Andre! Because let's say I erased a little bit in here, I would actually get a white spot on this circle. Okay, so what if you allowed yourself to do this, and notice that the only judgment, what if the only judgment you let yourself have was where to put the next circle? Like, so much is going on. Like you have to let yourself tune into your feelings and how what you're creating makes you feel. So For example, if all these circles are the same size and the same darkness, it's going to feel a certain way. I watch Carlos Santos on YouTube. He uses really cool sanding block for his pencils. Ooh, I'd like to look that up. It could do well for controlling the log. Ooh, Carlos Santos, I got to look him up. Thanks for the reference. I love to discover some new things. So like, what if I suddenly had smaller circles and darker? You know, how does it feel? By the way, another thing that makes you feel like you can't draw is like, do you see how bumpy and crumbly this looks? That's the paper I'm using. So if you buy a vellum paper instead of a smooth paper, like I've seen a lot of people, beginner fashion drawing people using like notebook paper to sketch on, like lined notebook paper. But that paper has zero texture to it. So when you have texture, your paper grabs your paint or grabs your crayon or grabs your pencil. And for most of you, probably the most easily accessible material you have to do something like this around your house would be a crayon, or oil pastels are the best because they're super bright and have no wood. But crayons can often be very thin, like they never get dark. Ideally, I'd like you to have something that goes from very dark to very light. And one more thing I'll leave you with for now, but I'm gonna make a series out of these. Okay, he's wonderful drawing, painting, and just talking about art. He's a classicist. Oh, that's so cool. I am so excited by how education is just opened up now with the internet, and it's not only locked into institutions. Oh, and there's something else I want to tell you about an English language thing. I'll be able to tell you soon. Okay. So play with light and dark. Play with these circles. And guess what? Don't worry. I think even the idea of a circle is going to scare a lot of people into having to be very perfect. So you can also allow yourself to let them just be ellipses. Which actually, again, notice how adding a new shape, not just a new size, not just a new dynamic of light or dark, not just a new dynamic of line or a filled solid shape, or a rhythm of repeating pattern, or contrast of scale. So much instruction. Sure is. It's amazing, YouTube. And sometimes you just feel like you're destined to land on whatever you've landed on, you know? Like, you don't even know where to start, but you're just like, I'll just watch this because it landed in front of me. And then you're like, that was meant to be. But you could also, you know, having a new shape is going to give you a new vibe. And again, here's one other thing I want you to just store into your back of your brains when you do this, is that when I'm creating these circles, I start a motion and it doesn't stop, right? So we're trying to give ourselves an opportunity to break away from this very controlled experience and actually harness energy that kind of builds and then tapers out. And then, you know what it's kind of like? Barkley. Wait, that's another artist, Barkley? Reminds me of Chico Buarque, a great musician. The Barkley study. I gotta look it up. I'm gonna go back over the comments and look this stuff up. When the energy builds, you actually get energy in your drawing. Like the energy itself creates something beautiful. It's less your control and it's more nature. Just energy. Oh, it's a technique. Oh my gosh, I'm so curious. What could that be? So, again, drawing with my whole hand, playing with light, playing with dark, playing with size, playing with lines, playing with filling things in, and playing with how I arrange them on the page. And allowing myself not to judge it or think that there's a right or a wrong way, and also not to think that this has to represent something. Not to say that these same skills aren't going to be used to create realistic drawings, but that how can you draw things realistically when you haven't explored your materials yet? And one other thing to think about too is whenever there's white showing through, to me that connects my paper to what I've drawn. So they're all one. So to me that kind of flattens out the page. But when I smear and eliminate all of the white, it's almost like watercolor. If I can eliminate all of the white in there, then what I've drawn becomes more separate from what was behind it. And I like that. It's nice sometimes to have your background and your drawing feel so separate rather than just a thin web of a drawing over paper. It's funny, when I came to do this today, I didn't know which way I would take it. And I kind of knew because I'm always teaching the same things over and over. But I didn't actually think that this is how we'd end up. So it's cool, though. Bear with me because I will also take us into drawing things we're looking at. But I think this is a really great way to start because to get a circle, just use your arm. Play with small, play with large, play with building that energy and then coasting like you're roller skating down a hill. Well, not that scary. Down a gentle slope. It's kind of like, that's what I was going to say. It's like double Dutch. Oh, I'm so glad. That is so affirming. You're such an incredible teacher, Felice. Thank you so much. By the way, I got to give a shout out to Felice. I hope she has a link in her page to her book because it's incredible. Her flat sketching textbook. Oh my God, I just got an itch on my face, so you know I'm going to have like a big black smudge on me. And I love that. I love that the whole body gets involved. It's messy, but it's physical and it's fun. It's a sport. So wait, there's something else. Oh yeah, so it's like double Dutch. You're jumping in and then you're jumping out. You're going to notice, how comfortable do you feel going in or out? Oh, can you leave your handle here? https://instagram.com/ or just put your handle at so that maybe people can connect. I hope the link to your book is in the bio. The other thing is we could link your book into these comments here anyway, and that would be awesome. It has such gorgeous illustrations, and I love that you featured so many artists in your book. It's so good. Oh, so there were 2 more quick ones I wanted to share with you all. Maybe I'm overdoing it. I got to go soon anyway. My daughter's like, are you done? Hi, Karen. Is just using the compass in your hand to create curves. Like how many people say they can't draw a straight line? Well, that was a very smooth line, wasn't it? What if you knew that all you have to do is turn your paper and just use the curves? You could draw a huge circle quite perfectly just by moving your paper around. Practice light, practice dark. Hi, Karen. I noticed that I couldn't. Yeah, I'm glad to touch base with you today. Let's just say that. Love, sending you big love. Remember, again, light and dark. If I put dark here, these look more forward because they're lighter. And watch, I can keep playing with that. Just build your awareness of how dark and light interact in creating space. It's kind of interesting, right? And then the last bit is to let yourself, you say you can't draw a straight line. Well, I hope you can't. That's fine. But if you use your whole arm, you can actually draw straighter lines because they're fast. They dart across the page. It's a little bit like that double Dutch feeling again. The energy draws the line, not your control. And if you try to draw them parallel to each other, you'll realize that you do have some control. Like it's just a nice exercise in learning to trust your ability to draw quick, straight lines where you want them, simply by doing. And isn't it interesting how these lines, we've created space on this flat piece of paper. The lines are floating over these white circles. This black shape is in the background. This circle is floating over this one, not because of light and dark, The quicker, the straighter the line. Yeah, and you draw that with your arm, right? Or your wrist, not with your fingers. It's just so impossible to draw straight lines with your fingers. And then isn't this interesting how I had said that dark usually looks like it's behind something, but another way that you can create layers of space on the page is simply by overlapping. So if this circle is interrupted by this one, and if this circle is interrupted by this one, then even though it's lighter, it still appears to be behind these. And in reality, nothing's behind anything. This is just a page. So my final thought for today to leave you with is that all of this is illusions anyway. I'd like you to rub your hands over your page. I'd like you to use your arm. I'd like you to think about light and dark. Think about space. Think about how shapes intersect each other. Felice. That's right. I call that chickens dancing on the paper. Keep the chickens in the coop and off the paper. Oh my gosh. Everyone's got their yes. Chickens in the coop. Keep the chickens in the coop and off the paper. Think about letting yourself keep energy moving rather than like pushing one line, and harnessing that energy just for you, just for the playfulness, just for noticing where you place things, how they feel, just for noticing how your pencil and your paper, what kind of a relationship they have. It's going to be different for every pencil and every paper. And if you only had a ballpoint pen around, you could still hold it like this. You're not going to be able to smear it, but you could still do the circles exercise, the lines exercise, and the arcs. And what I'd like you to get the chance to do is not feel that you have to do anything perfect at all. And one of the big things that we'll get into soon is drawing without lines, but rather with shapes. Because again, every time we talk about line, we start to associate, hang on, this is bad. Oh, wait, sorry. When we draw with lines, we already start to think of the alphabet. We start to think of language. We start to think of symbols, like symbols that represent things, like the way we draw a sunshine, rather than real feelings that we have about things that are more honest and messy, but sincere, and really don't need to be judged. So when you start to change the way you see, and the way you see art, and the way you see yourself in art, you start to realize that you can change the way you see so many things in the world. This kind of cracks you open in a wonderful way, especially when it becomes kind of a non-judgmental space. It's very meditative and fun. Thanks for joining me for today's class. My daughter's like, oh, you want to make tea? Okay. It's tea time. But if you're catching the replay again, remember to hashtag replay, and so I know you stopped by. Let me know if you have questions or comments or experiences or mean art teachers along the way who made you believe that you'd never be able to draw. Bye, Felice. I would blow you a kiss, but my whole face will turn black. But thanks for drawing with me, and I'm very honored to have you here with me because you're such an amazing teacher as well and an awesome friend. So I will see you soon. I got to message you so I can get your address. I want to send you something.